Are you a business owner stuck in fear, doubt, and worry about what the marketplace will look like in the future? Then this show is for you. Strap on your seatbelt and get ready to disrupt and innovate. Here's your host, Lisa Levy.
Get ready for an electrifying episode of Disrupt and Innovate as we welcome a true powerhouse, Nicky Billou, to the show. With over 600 podcast appearances, a reputation for delivering power, passion, and actionable tips, Nicky is a true force in the entrepreneurial world. As a two-time New York Times bestselling author and sought-after speaker, he's helped entrepreneurs scale their businesses, become branded thought leaders, and transform their lives. At eCircle Academy, Nicky helps service-based entrepreneurs become authorities in their niches. His expertise spans various domains, including helping entrepreneurs scale their businesses by 7 to 9 figures, transforming experts into branded thought leaders, and assisting CEOs in becoming authors and podcast hosts. He guides body transformations and mentors men to become better versions of themselves. Don't miss this captivating episode. We're going to dive in deep into Nicky's journey and uncover the secrets of entrepreneurial success. Nicky, welcome to our conversation.
Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you. The pleasure is all mine. So in this, we talk about disruption and innovation and what it means to make a positive impact. Using disruption to drive innovation is the only way that I see that businesses can move forward and actually scale, grow, and adapt to things that happen around them that are beyond their control. What is it that you're passionate about right now, and why is now the most important time for what you're doing?
What a great question. You know, the best way is to frame my answer by telling you a bit about my backstory. I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran, and that was a cataclysm in the history of the region. My late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall. Things were changing drastically, and he and my mom, they decided this wasn't going to be a place to raise their Christian family. So they made a plan together, and they got us out of Iran eventually. We went to Europe for a couple of years, and then we went and settled where I now live in Toronto, Canada. Now, at the time, I was a kid. I didn't want to leave my home. I didn't want to leave my friends. But looking back, it was the single greatest thing Mom and Dad could have done for me and my two brothers. They took us from a legacy of tyranny to a legacy of freedom. And I think it takes an entrepreneur who is an immigrant to truly be able to appreciate the philosophical importance of freedom to success in all business. If you think about this, business success happens when there's free enterprise. Without that, your business can't succeed. You're at the whim of some petty tyrant who's going to tell you what you can and can't do. And believe me, we've been there. We've seen that. It's not a fun way to do business. And without free expression, you can't have free enterprise. And without freedom, you can't have free expression. So I became a real champion for freedom. It's just formed my philosophical bedrock of who I am, what I'm all about. And I say this to every business person, every entrepreneur, every executive. You need to go and read and learn about what is freedom, what is the philosophy of freedom, and how that impacts your ability to do business. Because otherwise you're kind of blind. You don't understand how it works and why and so forth. So some books that I recommend that every business person should read is you should read Ayn Rand's magisterial books, The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. Those are incredible. They're novels, but they explain the philosophy of freedom better than any other book I've ever read. Milton Friedman, you know, a Nobel Prize winning economist. He wrote many books, Capitalism and Freedom, Free to Choose with his wife Rose, spectacular books. Friedrich Hayek, another immigrant who wrote the book, The Road to Serfdom. These are all important books that people ought to read and peruse and understand. If you're in business and you don't have an understanding of the philosophical underpinning of what allows you to do what you do, you're not going to be as successful as you could be, and you're not going to have an appreciation, a reverence for the people who made all this possible from you because of how they thought and who they were throughout our history. It's super, 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 super important to do that. So that's number one. And because of that background, and I come from a business family. My father was a entrepreneur and a businessman in Iran. He was an importer and exporter, primarily importing medical equipment and supplies to equip hospitals to save people's lives, right? I mean, you think about that. That's pretty darn cool and important. And Dad all took his job as a father very seriously, even though he was super, super busy. And he'd always be teaching lessons to me and my brothers. And he'd say to me, son, remember, life is about people. And I go, okay, Dad. Business is about people, not money, son, people. And I'm like, what? Dad, come on, what are you talking about? Of course, business is about money. Without money, you can't have any business. I'm a smart aleck 8-year-old. I thought I got my dad, right? And then he goes, that's true, son. But without people, there's no need for business. Because what is business? What is any business? And I know you get this, Lisa. It is solving problems for people at a profit. That's the purpose of business. The Venn diagram. You solve acute problems, real problems, for amazing people, and you make an awesome profit. And where the three of those intersect, that is the awe-inspiring purpose of business. Think about this. I believe that everyone needs to understand this simple truth when they go and they do business. And if you want to be a leading, innovative business, if you want to create something that's going to move the needle in the world, you got to understand what the bedrock of it is. And then to be a disruptor, you need to understand what it is that you as an individual and as a business bring to the table. What makes you unique? Why are you special? Well, for myself, I think what makes me special is I'm my father's son. My father used to tell me, son, your job is to believe in people. Everybody needs someone to believe in them. That woman sitting in front of you, that's someone's daughter, that's someone's sister, that's someone's wife, that's someone's mother. She's a hero to somebody. And maybe somebody just like you let her down in business. It's your job to restore her faith in the goodness of human beings by showing her who you are, by believing in her when she falters, and by making sure that that little spark of belief that might be dying gets nurtured and gets turned into this roaring fire. And that's how you make your mark on the world. To me, you want to disrupt. The biggest disruption you can have is to show people how much you care about your fellow man and fellow woman.
All right, Nicky, in that journey, the story, the things that you've shared, I want to pull some threads and play with them for a little bit. So let's start with Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugged and pulling that through to the Venn diagram, right? This is all about adding value to people. And when we as entrepreneurs and business owners understand that we're solving problems for people, we will naturally become profitable business owners. Everything, and in my language, I use the language that we put our customer or our client at the center of our universe, that all decisions we make day in and day out need to drive specific value to that end client, that end customer, because they are the ones that, one, pay our bills. But if we're not solving their problems, we're not going to solve anybody else's either. So it is an absolutely powerful and impactful story how you've pulled all of those threads to the key point that we make, that disruption is about making a positive impact, because there are lots of voices in the world who are loud. There are lots of voices in our world who are thought-provoking, but instigating and actually delivering value are two different things. And as entrepreneurs, we have to deliver value. Right now, why is now such an important time for the work that you're doing and the impacts that you're making?
So look, the last 4 years have been hard on humanity. You've had lockdowns. You've had riots in certain cities. You've had people getting killed. You've had war in Europe, war in the Middle East, inflation. People's mental health has taken a beating, I believe, and I would argue, like very few other times in human history. Yes? And every human being today is struggling to find ways to be positive and to stay hopeful and optimistic. And they want to know if they matter. They want to know if they're relevant to this world. When I come on a podcast, I have a triple intention. My first intention is I want to inspire the audience. I want people listening to this who maybe are looking for a dose of positivity today to go, man, this guy's on fire. I love it. I feel better. I'm glad that I listened to the show. Secondly, I want to make you feel that the decision to bring me on this show was the best guesting decision you've ever made. Oh my God, this guy's the best guest ever. He's got energy to burn. He brings good takeaways for the audience, and I just like him. That's what I want. And then thirdly, for me, I'm an old school Gen X businessman. I do business the old fashioned way. I get to know, like, and trust people. And podcasting and guesting is the way for me and you to get to know, like, and trust each other. And this is how business happens. This is how transactions happen. This is how partnerships happen. I'm going on lots of shows. I've been on 600 plus episodes because I want to create more inspiration. I want more podcast hosts to go, damn, I brought the world's greatest podcast guest on my show. I'm glad I did it. And then I want 600 plus new business connections for me to be able to grow my business, to be able to grow my impact. And out of doing this 600 plus appearances, 2 million people have now heard about me that would never have known who I was. And I want to be an example for people on how to do this. Because look, in the world of coaching, consulting, service-based entrepreneurship, there's a lot of good people out there with amazing ethics, amazing morals, but maybe their sales and marketing skills aren't the greatest. Maybe they're a little afraid. They don't want to be seen as pushy or salesy or reeking of commission breath, so they don't go after business the way they should. And they lose out on helping good people who could use their help, right? And they don't get that business. Their business suffers. Their ability to make the difference they were born to make suffers. And then that client gets hurt because a good person who could have helped them doesn't help them, and they're still hurting. And then some charlatan comes in with low morals but great sales skills and scoops up that business and doesn't deliver.
And
think about this. That is what happens. The sum total of goodness in the world goes down. I can't allow that. I've got to make sure that the good people win. That's what keeps me up at night. The good people have to win. They got to make more money. They got to get more clients. They got to fulfill their destiny. They got to make the difference they were born to make. That's what keeps me going. And today, all the crap those charlatans are telling you, hey, write blogs, hey, do launches, hey, spend $1,300 to book a single call with paid advertising. No, I'm going to teach you what works today. I'm going to make sure that you use what works today and you win. And what's working today are organic marketing methods. And the best one, the little known secret, is podcast guesting. Podcast guesting. Most people go and be a guest on a show, and all they do is they go, okay, this is great. Let me just vomit whatever. That was great. Nothing happens. I go on a show, and because of the triple intention that I told you about, I build a relationship with the host. I create opportunities to do business. I've done over $360,000 in business in under 18 months, 5 to 8 hours a week from podcast. And now I'm teaching this to people. I've got a workshop called Get Booked and Get Paid, where I show you how to get booked on podcasts through the magic of Podmatch, just like we did it, and get paid because of the triple intention and the methodology that I teach people. And this works today. Those other methods they're teaching you, they don't work anymore. They used to work, they don't work anymore. And in 2 years and 3 years, this won't work. It'll be saturated. But podcast guesting is like digging for gold in a minefield full of gold that nobody else is digging in. While all those other methods is like digging for gold in a minefield that used to have lots of gold, but now has been all mined out.
absolutely. And so, Nicky, you promised at the beginning that there are actionable takeaways. And if you guys are listening, whoever, audience members that are listening, the number one takeaway to grow your business is to understand how to become a powerful and impactful podcast guest. It is absolutely a fantastic and wonderful way to grow your business and to get yourself seen and heard and your message out there, because the number one thing, we've talked about it throughout this entire episode, is the connection to people.
Brilliant.
Nicky, as you look to the future, you just gave us a little glimpse, right? You're trying to affect people so that they can grow their business through the power of podcast guesting. But when you look out 2, 3, 5 years, What's the future for entrepreneurs that you see that you want to help impact?
They're going to need to get on the AI train because right now that thing is barreling down the tunnel. You need to jump on it, otherwise it's going to run you over. And I got to tell you, AI makes everything easier if you catch the wave and you're on the train, and it'll absolutely crush you if you ignore it. You know, one of my mentors, I had him on a podcast, said to me that whenever he thinks about doing any task, the first question he asks himself is, I wonder if I can do this better, faster with AI. So a few years down the road, you're either going to be somebody who's powerfully incorporated AI into their world, or you're going to be roadkill. You know,
It's absolutely true. And in my consulting practice right now, I'm looking at how do I leverage AI so that there's less of me, right? Less of my time and energy, and letting the AI do the things that it can do in terms of taking data and compiling, parsing, analyzing, and giving actionable outputs so that I'm focused on my clients and not the minutia of the data, because there are better ways of handling data today. And it starts with, machine learning and AI, and we're only scratching the surface.
we only are.
For members of the audience, we've had a fabulous conversation with Nicky today. We've talked about an underlying principle that everything begins with people. And when we take care of people and we solve their problems, it leads directly to profits. It is all about people. And as entrepreneurs and business owners, one of the best ways, the most organic and natural ways to grow our business and our presence and our credibility is to be guests on podcasts. Nicky, thank you so much for being here with me today. Where can guests find you if they want to learn more?
There's a couple of ways. If all you want to do is just check me out, I've got a great podcast called The Thought Leader Revolution. Go check that out. There's over 550 episodes, some with really famous people, some with people that aren't so well known, but are incredible world-renowned thought leaders in their space. And that's a great place to start if you just want to check me out. But if you're in a space where you want to actually get into action and get some of the stuff that we've talked about going, podcast guesting, etc., jump on a calendar call with me. And the way to do that is go to eCircleacademy.com/appointment and let me know you are coming from the show, and let's have a great conversation about what ails you and your business and what you're looking to do about it right now.
Absolutely fabulous. All of the links will be in the show notes, so it's easy for you guys to find that information. Audience members, you know the rules. Don't get left behind. Join me next time.
That's it for today's episode of Disrupt and Innovate. Head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Every single week, one lucky listener that posts a review on iTunes will win the grand prize drawing, a $15,000 private VIP day with Lisa Levy. And be sure to head over to disruptandinnovate.com and get your free copy of Lisa's gift. And join us on our next episode.